All right, Councillor Gillette, comment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As far as like trying to lay blame on a few youth and saying they're criminals, you know, they're not all criminals. There's a lot of really good kids out there, and they'll bend over backwards for anybody. However, if a person is gung-ho on, say, well, we'll just say a break and enter at a store down at the mall or something, that's their goal in life, is to do that. But if they're encouraged to play hockey or baseball, and they really want to do that, they will find a way to get to the ball field. They will find a way to get to the skating rink and play hockey or whatever they wish to do, because these things are available to them. And through City Council and the taxpayers that have paid for all these different arenas for them to enjoy, I'm sure we'll see more people out there, because I'm starting to see, actually, in the wintertime, at one time when I was a kid, you'd see a guy walking down the street with his hockey stick and skates, be going to Merrifield to play hockey. And then for the longest time, I never seen that, and now I'm starting to see it happen again. In the last couple of winters, you're starting to see the kids out there with their stick and their skates, and they're playing, which is a good thing to see, and I was happy to see that. So this year, in one hand, we're painting this negative picture, but I'd like to see this negative turned into a positive. And again, we had the first step as done right here. The next step, I'm looking forward to seeing what the next step and the results are going to come from that, and it will probably turn into a positive. So we can't paint everybody with the same brush and say they're all criminals. No, they're not. The fact of the matter is, a little encouragement, and we're going to have all-star hockey players, probably Memorial Cup hockey players, baseball players, or whatever they wish to be. We have the facilities here, and they're there for them to use, and we encourage them. Thanks.
All right. Councillor Fata, comment?
Comments. I just want to take off on what Councillor Sheehan said about it takes a village to raise a child, and I can appreciate that comment, and I think all of us are here tonight agreeing on this, and I'm sure that there'll be a unanimous vote on this matter, because we all do care. But it seems to me that we keep bringing up the fact that youth got to be involved, youth have to be included. We're leaving the parents out of the picture. It's often been said that kids will be kids, but you know something? Parents have got to start being parents. It used to be that if you went home after you got the strap years ago, your parents probably doubled that punishment. Nowadays, the parents, it seems, are backing the kids when they're being disciplined, or at least there's an attempt to discipline these kids at schools and by coaches and by police services. It seems like the parents support the kid when the parents should be supporting the system. And this is where part of the problem is. There's a lack of respect towards enforcement, towards whether it's teachers, whether it's police services, and that's a big part of the problem. And if we don't deal with that, we're just trying to sugarcoat this. We're having fancy terminology tonight, but the part about the parents have to be responsible for their kids has to be realized. You know, it's said that it takes, I've heard figures of over $100,000 to raise a child from age 1 to 18 years of age. Well, there's a lot of kids in this city and others that are being shortchanged. I mean, there's kids that are being put into dancing, music, hockey, football, you name it. I mean, those parents are probably spending double that amount. But there's kids in this town that don't even get the bare minimum. And there's a problem there. Now, we can be part of the solution. I agree with that. But we have to include all parties. And we are ignoring the most important part of this whole puzzle, and that's the parents. And they're the ones that better come on board, because they decide to bring that child into the world, and they better come on board and realize they're taking their job rather lightly. And we keep talking about the kids in the lower-end neighborhoods. There's a lot of kids that are being raised in those lower-end neighborhoods that are doing just fine.
You're starting to repeat yourself. So
sorry about that.
Okay.
The fact remains, we have to include the most important piece of the puzzle, and that's the parents. Thank you.
Your point taken. Okay. When this issue was brought up, I was sort of, like others, astonished with the increase in youth crime stats. And it's nice to hear that it was the accounting methods that caused the increase rather than actually youth crime increasing in Sault Ste. Marie. It's good to see today that we are getting proper stats that show that, if anything, we've actually dropped our youth crime down from 2006 to 2008. So it's very good to know that we've done that. But that stat, however it was presented, Council took it upon themselves as a whole, and then Councillor Hayes, of course, you took offense to that stat and you've made an issue with it. And we supported you with respect to, all right, youth crime, doesn't matter what stat it is, it appears to be unacceptable. We in this community need to deal with it. And as a result, we looked at, and I was actually a little fearful of the data that was going to be presented, because it could segregate out certain parts of the community that, oh, well, maybe you don't want to buy a home in that area, other things like that. But the way it's been presented today is actually done so that we can be positive about, well, if we have some issues, we're going to work on it to address them. And they could include, like Councillor Fata says, all right, not a course on parenting, but maybe involvement of parents. We don't know where this is going to go with the committee, but I commend all of Council for essentially taking this on, because I know in other communities it would be washed, put right underneath the carpet. And you will have to address it when the recommendations come forward. I think in some ways we started to address it with 25-cent bus fares last year, West End Community Center in the west end of town. Right? We sort of know what we need to do, but it'd be nice to get a set of, we were doing this with tourism later, 10 top items that we really need to be working on. So today I commend Council as a whole. You're taking on something that needs to be taken on. You'll all have difference of opinion, but I don't believe any other council in Ontario would actually take this on. And you're trying to take a negative situation and turn it into positive. And tonight I compliment you all. All right, the motion's been read. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We'll go to planning in just a second.